Hey, I'm Sean.
And I'm MJ, and today we're talking serving. Sean, what does serving look like for you?
Good question. A few months ago, me and my friends, we headed up to Kerr Street Mission. It's a few minutes from here.
Cool.
Grabbed a bunch of groceries, and we spent an hour or so preparing a really nice and healthy meal, and we got to serve it to people who normally wouldn't have breakfast in their day-to-day.
That's sweet.
But it can look different for everybody. What about you?
For me, serving may look like making my mom a cup of coffee in the morning, or helping my dad with a chore. Or even, I have this one friend right now that's going through a particularly hard time, and it just looks like making time for him and hanging out and encouraging him.
Well, today's big idea is Jesus shows us how to serve. So let's see what that looks like.
What did the little corn say to the mama corn? Where's popcorn? Hey everyone, Karmyn here. I remember when I was about 10 years old, I was trying to make pancakes for a big group of people. The problem was, they just stayed goopy and runny, and when I tried to flip them, it was just a big mess. So finally, someone came over and taught me this little trick. They said, don't flip the pancakes until you start to see bubbles. And guess what? It worked. Every time I flipped a pancake, it was beautiful and golden and brown, and I just learned such a simple lesson. It's amazing how something so simple can change how we do things. When Jesus lived on earth, he did all kinds of these little things all the time. Maybe he didn't teach his disciples how to flip pancakes, but he was teaching them through little ways how to lead a life of love and service to others. And that brings me to today's big idea. Jesus shows us how to serve. We're in the middle of our series called Arise from the book of John. This story begins just before the Passover feast. The Passover is a huge Jewish celebration to remember how God freed the Israelites out of slavery from Egypt by sending 10 plagues. In the final plague, the Israelites saved their firstborn sons by putting blood on the doorpost. They did this so that the angel of death would pass over their houses, and in this way, all of their firstborns were saved. So Passover was a time of celebration for all Jews, and Jesus was Jewish. Jesus knew that his time was coming soon to leave his disciples and to go be with his Father. Jesus really loved his disciples, and he wanted to show them the best way to love. They were eating their evening meal together, and the devil had already tempted Judas, who was one of the disciples, and Judas was planning to hand Jesus over to his enemies really soon. Jesus knew that God the Father had put everything under his power, and Jesus knew that he was returning to God the Father very soon. So let's read what Jesus does. So he got up from the meal and took off his outer clothes. He wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a large bowl. Then he began to wash his disciples' feet. He dried them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Now, this might seem a little strange, but in Jesus' time and culture, people would have always either been in bare feet or in sandals, and always walking through dusty, dirty ground with lots of animals walking by with no one to scoop their poop. And oftentimes, when a visitor entered your home, you would wash their feet as a way to greet them. In this story, it appears that no one had washed their feet yet. And so Jesus took on the role of a servant. He knelt down and he washed dirty, stinky feet of his disciples, even Judas, who was going to betray him. And when Jesus got to Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet too?" Jesus said, "You don't get what I'm doing, but you'll understand later." But Peter, because he was a super passionate and kind of stubborn guy, said to Jesus, "No, you'll never wash my feet." But Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you can't share life with me." So then Peter jumps to the other side of the argument and he says, "Lord, then not just my feet, wash my hands and my head too." And Jesus replied, "For those that have had a bath, they only need to wash their feet." Now when Jesus finished washing their feet, he put his outer clothes back on and found his spot back at the table. And then he said to them, "Do you understand what I have done for you?" Let's read how he continues. "You call me teacher and Lord. You are right. That is what I am. I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet. So you also should wash one another's feet. I have given you an example. You should do as I have done for you. What I'm about to tell you is true. A slave is not more important than his master, and a messenger is not more important than the one who sends him. Now you know these things, so you will be blessed if you do them." Jesus not only gives an example of what to do, but then he clearly says to his disciples, "I have given you an example. You should do what I have done for you." And he didn't just mean to wash each other's feet, like literally, although that really is such an awesome example to show love and humility and serving to others. He just meant take time to serve one another through humble love. This is the example that Jesus modeled for us. Sometimes we call this servant leadership, but other times we just call it loving and serving like Jesus. And you'll notice that he also says, now you know these things, go do them. Jesus really does show us how to love and serve in the best ways. For us, we can do this each and every day. And we can look for places to show extra love and kindness to people who maybe don't always receive it. When we love and serve like Jesus, it probably won't be in the big, grand gestures. It'll be in the everyday, simple, ordinary ways that we can show love to those around us. And this is how Jesus shows us how to serve. Well, friends, it's always so great to be together. Can't wait to see you next week.
Jesus washed his disciples' feet, and he did it with love. And he uses that example to show us that we can serve others no matter who we are and no matter what it takes.
Totally. What may seem like a small gesture actually had a huge impact on his disciples and transformed their view of serving. We asked Alicia to share with us why she decided to serve with an organization that ships medical supplies to people in need, and let's check out what she has to say.
So when I was 15, my dad got really sick and he stopped walking and he's in a wheelchair now. And a couple weeks later, my mom was diagnosed with cancer and went through chemotherapy. So I couldn't imagine living through that experience in a place other than Canada, where we have so much access to medicine and medical care. So it really made me think about the world and how things work in other places. I discovered that 1 in 4 people don't have any access to medicine at all in the world. And so I became interested in a registered charity that increases access to medicine for people who live in rural areas and don't have it. HPIC sends medicine to over 50 countries every year by collecting donated pharmaceuticals from manufacturers and boxing it up to send with humanitarians on an airplane when they go to do medical missions work. So the volunteers come to the office and they have an orientation. They learn more about HPIC and the work they're doing internationally, and then they get to work. They put medicine into the boxes. They make sure the right medicine goes in, and they know that it's going to be used across the world to help people who have no medicine to make them well.
I like to volunteer because it feels so good to be able to give back to our community. Knowing that we're packing medical supply to send in other countries just makes me feel so happy to do that.
They don't put any packing product into the boxes to keep the medicine safe because you can't throw it away in many countries. So instead they use Easy Dolls, which volunteers knit and send them in, and then they can be given out to kids who come to clinics and who aren't feeling so well.
I'm from Ghana, and it's just exciting to know that HPIC is helping vulnerable communities in the developing world, making lives easier for people that cannot afford basic medication, and that's what I love about HPIC's work in the developing country.
So this is a little boy. He's 15 in the picture, but he looks a lot younger because he has cancer. So he was sent some medicine, and here he is 2 years later, completely cancer-free. This is Solkin. He was very sick and nothing seemed to work. None of the medicine worked, but the final medicine that was sent to him cleared his infection and he got to go home.
We're very fortunate here in Canada. I've been in parts of the world where I see, in war-struck countries and developing nations where people are not as fortunate as we are. So it's my way of trying to give back in a way to this planet, for us as humanity. Through my company, I get an opportunity to volunteer through different programs, and I've always done that every year. This is my second time here at HPIC, and I really enjoyed it the last time I was here. We actually had a lot of fun. It was great for team building exercises as well. And just knowing that you're doing something for a better cause for humanity, really, not just for Canada.
This little girl had her leg broken for months and months, and no one was able to set it because there was no one there. So she went to a medical missions team, and they were able to set her broken leg and give her antibiotics. So this little girl is 2 years old in the picture, and she's never been able to walk because of a hip condition she was born with. So she had surgery with some medicine sent to her, and she is now able to walk. Putting medicine in a box is something so small, but it has such a big impact. And it just gives you purpose knowing that what you're doing is helping so many people. So I'm grateful to be part of it. Jesus came to help people who are poor and who are sick. And so there's nothing more like Jesus than serving. And by doing something so small, putting medicine in a box, we can help the poor and we can help the sick. People who are way across the world who we can learn to have compassion for, just like Jesus did.
As Alicia said, packing boxes may seem so simple, but without that many volunteers to do so, HPIC, Health Partners International of Canada, wouldn't be able to send so many medical supplies to people in need.
Yeah, and we can all serve. Just look around you and you'll find places where you can serve at school, at home. You can help with your friends, your siblings, and even your parents.
Totally. So if you have the heart to help others in need, talk to your parents or your leaders in church to find an organization to serve. So let's break into our small groups and talk about what this looks like in our lives.